Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today I'll be reviewing this book here, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the first book in a series that's quite big. I'm currently doing a reread, so I have read this years ago. This book came out around 2010 or 2011, and this is Brandon Sanderson's big epic series. This is his series that is like his version of The Wheel of Time. So I am doing a reread. I'm almost done book 2. I read book 1 quite a while ago. I'm just finally getting to a review on it now, as I've never reviewed this series. And I mean, this is truly, truly epic. Before I just get into the main spoiler-free review, I'm just going to read you the back just to give you a hint of what it's about. So it says, I long for the days before the last desolation, before the heralds abandoned us and the nights radiant turned against us, when there is still magic in Roshar and honor in the hearts of men. In the end, not war but victory proved the greater test. Did our foes see that the harder they fought, the fiercer our resistance? Fire and hammer forge a sword, time and neglect rusted away. So we won the world, yet lost it. Now there are 4 whom we watch. The surgeon, forced to forsake healing and fight in the most brutal war of our time. The assassin who weeps as he kills. The liar who wears her scholar's mantle over a thief's heart, and the prince whose eyes open to the ancient past as his thirst for battle wanes. One of them may redeem us, one of them will destroy us. From Brandon Sanderson, the author completing Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, comes the Stormlight Archive, a richly imagined epic set in a world relentlessly blasted by awesome tempests where emotions take on the physical form, and terrible secrets hide deep within the rocky landscape. Speak again the hallowed oaths. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. The night's radiant must stand again. So this is a big story, and I will give you a warning, not about content, but about the fact that if you ever wanted to get into Stormlight Archive, Book 1, The Way of Kings, has a very slow start. There's like at least 2 prologues before the book starts. And the pacing for a fantasy book is pretty slow. You start off, you follow Kaladin. I can say stuff about Kaladin, this isn't too spoilery, but he starts off as, he's already a broken man. He was in the army, there's this war going on with these people called the Parshendi. They're these kind of creatures. And so Kaladin essentially, what happens is he becomes a slave. He's a soldier, he gets sold into slavery after something happens, and basically you're seeing his life as a slave and later as someone who has to carry bridges across chasms, because the Shattered Plains, where a lot of this takes place, they have these chasms and there are these creatures called chasm fiends, and Kaladin is one person that helps lead a bridge crew where they carry these portable bridges across the chasms while the Parshendi are shooting arrows at them. So there's this man who's really quite evil who's making them do these bridge runs knowing that they're just fodder for the Parshendi to shoot down. So Kaladin is kind of trying to rise up against that system. And yeah, I mean, I've read the first 4 books in this series. There's 5 in all in the first arc. It's going to be 10 books total. But Stormlight Archive right now, it's the first arc is over. So I will be reading Wind and Truth after I finish my reread of the first 4. And I'm almost done book 2, so I'm doing pretty good. This is a truly epic series. This book itself, The Way of Kings, is very good once it gets going. Once Kaladin kind of goes through more of his arc of being a slave and then not being a slave, it gets really good. So the magic, again, this is Brandon Sanderson. I haven't reviewed Mistborn, but Mistborn has what's known as a hard magic system. And in the Stormlight Archive, there is also a hard magic system, what's known as Stormlight. So there's these high storms, and what happens, people have these gems, and the gems are powered by the energy from the storms, and people can breathe in the Stormlight. And like with Kaladin, he finds out that he can breathe in Stormlight, it gives him power. And there are people that can run on walls, walk on the ceiling, lash themselves to the ceiling. They can do all sorts of stuff with Stormlight. One of my favorite things about this is the shard blades. So people gain the ability to summon swords out of thin air. It kind of forms in their hand, and they have shard plate, which is armor that is super strong and can make them, basically give them superpowers. They can jump from a super high height and fall, and they won't break any bones because the armor sustains them. And the thing about Kaladin, which is really interesting, is he goes through a lot of mental health issues. He struggles with depression and anxiety. And so Brandon Sanderson does a good job of showing what mental health can be like, what depression can be like for someone. And there's another character that you meet. Her name is Shallan. And I can't really get into her arc too much because there's a lot of spoilers, but Shallan is a very interesting character. And right now in book 2, I'm getting to some really interesting stuff with Shallan and what she's learning about herself. She's really scholarly. She likes to sketch. In this world, women do writing and sketching and creative stuff, where the men are more into war and war planning. So kind of they have their own gender roles. But I found Shallan to be a really interesting character. And then you have this stuck-up princeling called Adolin, who I do like. Some people don't like him. So this book is kind of about Kaladin's journey, about meeting Shallan, meeting Adolin and Dalinar. Dalinar is Adolin's father, who's a high prince. So basically there's a lot going on in this story. There's a lot of characters. You meet an assassin that shows up later in book 2. So, I mean, yeah, keeping it spoiler free, this is a very good book 1. I think book 2 is better. Like I said, I've read the first 4. There's The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War. And there's 2 sort of novellas in between that I'm going to be reading. So yeah, if you like epic fantasy, you like magic, you like kind of like magic where it's like science, you like really good world building, character work, it's really good. And I will say, a lot of people say this about Brandon Sanderson, but his writing is not flowery, it's not pretty, it's just very straightforward prose, but I think it does the job. So if that sounds good to you, leave a comment if you're interested in reading Stormlight. And yeah, that's about all I can say spoiler free, just saying this is a really good book 1 once you get past the sort of more boring stuff, and then as book 2, once you get into the series, like I'm going to be reviewing book 2, the pacing is a lot faster in that, and the pacing keeps getting faster. And I'm very excited to read Wind and Truth, probably next year. So I'll be doing another video, probably a review of Rhythm of War next Friday or Saturday, and then that'll be my last video before the holidays, and I'll take a break into the new year. So until I see you next time, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.